the country to see how Nigerians have begun the new year, confronting some of the challenges carried over from the previous year, while embracing the new opportunities presented by the season. Tonight, we will open our Northwest files to see how communities that faced the challenge of insecurity last year have battened down the hatches this year.
I am Abuja Mohammed Bawa. In the course of News Extra tonight, we will be examining the reopening of secondary school across some part of Kebbi State since their closure after the Maga school girls abduction.
In the course of today's News Extra, we shall be examining the security feelings of the people of the state days after U.S. bombing in parts of the state and the current situation that gave way to schools' resumption for second-term academic activities in the state. Stay with us.
I'm Awal Haliru on the street of Katsina. In the course of News Extra tonight, we will be evaluating the security measures in place to ensure society in Katsina State operates smoothly, with security issues reduced to a minimum.
I'm Jamilu Ibrahim Ngusozan for the state Northwest Nigeria. In the course of the News Extra tonight, we shall be examining the safety measures being put in place by the relevant authorities to ensure a safer school environment as students and staff are getting set to resume for second term of the 2025 and 2026 academic session in Zamfara State, scheduled for next week.
On health, NCDC confirms decline in Lassa fever cases. 14 days after the Martin Street fire in Lagos, the once boisterous business area is still struggling to reclaim its former ambience. And on business, global oil prices to be affected by current U.S. maneuvering in Venezuela. Benny Adams is casting a worried glance at that, while Francisca Bella is equally worried about the Super Eagles camp in Morocco. Money issues again. Maybe Benny can help us with that. It's a loaded package, but don't take my word for it. After all, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I'm Henry John. This is News Extra. Welcome. We'll begin from Sokoto tonight, where socio-economic activities have resumed fully in the affected areas after the joint air strike carried out by the United States and the Nigerian military on Christmas Eve, targeting terrorist hideouts in Tangaza local government area of Sokoto State. Similarly, life has returned to Jabo community, Tambuwal local government area, where fragments believed to be from the air operation were discovered. Dalhatu Abdullahi sent an update.
Well, in Sokoto State, schools' activities have resumed for second-term academic activities after the Christmas and the New Year breaks. This is in spite of the panic thrown on the public as a result of bombing around Jabo community and in Tambo local government and similar bombing in part of Tangaza local government. Security has been beefed up with the support of Sokoto State government. Already, Sokoto State government has issued a release indicating support to the U.S. strike on criminal elements in the state, and subsequent release warning the public to stay away from the scenes of the bombardment in the interest of their safety. As you can see, normal activities have resumed behind me. People are going about their normal businesses. No panic again. This is the situation in Sokoto. Back to the studios in Abuja.
Thanks, Abdul. Meanwhile, Katsina State has been one of the worst hit in terms of security breaches. However, there seems to be a new impetus to confront the main challenges interrupting social, economic and educational activities in the state. Let's now join Awal Haliru for a situation report.
Efforts to boost security ahead of school resumption next week in Katsina State are paying off. The state government has put measures in place to ensure safety as peace returns to communities, including frontline local government areas. The Katsina Community Watch Corps, launched by the state government, is supporting the federal security efforts, and parents and students alike are optimistic about a secure school resumption. Collective efforts by stakeholders, security agents, and government are driving lasting peace in Katsina State. Earlier, I spoke with a public affairs analyst, Professor Mukhtar Al-Qasim, to share his thoughts on the situation.
Actually, the security situation in Katsina is improving significantly. And we have to appreciate the effort of Katsina State government, particularly under the leadership of Dr. Doko Umar Radda, with his initiative of creating this Katsina Community Watch Corps. Actually, they have done very wonderfully good. And not only that, the initiation for this peace dialogue between members of the community and these bandits also is yielding very positive effect. We hope that Katsina State is going to maintain this peace, as we can see that now the frontline local government, 8 of them, people are moving freely, businesses are going, everything is going very well. The only call and urge is that for the Katsina State government to maintain this particularly status quo, to continue to leverage on the current peace, to see that how are we going to maintain this.
Security arrangements are in place, with Christmas and New Year celebrations passing peacefully. The state government credits its initiatives for the improved situation across the state, setting a stage for a sustainable economic development.
Towns across Kebbi State have returned to school following a 2-month closure prompted by security concerns. The resumption marks the continuation of the first-term academic calendar under tightened security measures. Let's now join our correspondent, Abdul Mohammed Dibawa in Birini, Kebbi, for more updates.
Academic activities in primary and secondary schools in some part of Kebbi State have resumed fully on 5th January 2026, following directives by Kebbi State government for the reopening of the schools since their closure after the Maga school abduction incident. Although while schools in towns and major cities are opened, schools in villages and hard-to-reach areas remain closed. However, tertiary institutions, with the exception of the School of Nursing and Midwifery, remain closed, pending further directives by the state government. Earlier on, I spoke with the Kebbi State Commissioner for Basic and Secondary School Education, Dr. Halima Muhammad Bande, and first PRO of Kebbi State Police Command on measures put in place and the next line of action.
Gradually, almost all the schools are going to resume because the government is doing all what it takes to make sure that the safety measures are taken in schools. Perhaps that is why, if you can be able to go around, you see security personnel deployed in most of the schools in the states. Other schools that are far from the town, that is, those that are very far from towns and villages situated in the outskirts of towns, some of them are considered to be merged with other schools that are situated in the urban centers.
The Kebbi State Police Command, in collaboration with other sister security agencies and the Kebbi State Ministry of Basic and Higher Education, had kicked off a sensitization campaign across all the emirates that are resuming school to sensitize principals, vice principals, security men, civil security men of schools, as well as matrons, with specific emphasis to boarding schools, specifically girls' schools, because they are most vulnerable.
With measures put in place, other schools are expected to be open as soon as possible, and parents are expected to send their children to school when they are open. Thank you, Harriet. Back to you.
That's from Katsina. Still on security concerns, we understand that there is significant improvement in the security situation across Zamfara State. Many schools that have been closed for years, especially in rural areas, are set to reopen. Relevant authorities say they are intensifying efforts to guarantee the safety of students and staff across the state amidst the renewed commitment of the security forces to achieve a lasting peace. Jamilu Ibrahim joins us now in Gusau to provide more information on the implementation of the Safer Schools initiative in Zamfara State as students get set to resume for a second term scheduled for next week.
The protracted security challenge bedeviling Zamfara State has over the years led to the closure of a number of schools, especially in remote areas. The students and staff are getting set to resume for the second term of the 2025 and 2026 academic session in the state scheduled for next week. Relevant authorities say they are taking decisive measures to ensure safer school environment. Join me to discuss on this issue is the security analyst, Malam Omar Usman Karakay. Sir, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
What is your assessment of the current situation of schools as far as security measures are concerned in Zamfara State?
Well, for over 4 years, we have faced a lot of challenges in keeping our children in the schools, leading to many of the schools, especially the boarding institutions, closed. And many of the students transferred to some safer areas for them to keep learning while teaching continues to. So it is a very serious challenge if we will have some areas in which the schools have to remain closed, which we call the red line areas. Up to this moment, none of them are still closed. So it is a very serious challenge. But with the current development in the past 18, 20 months, sincerely speaking, sometimes I even used to question why some of the schools remain day schools instead of the boarding institutions returning, because there is safety measures adopted and the schools appear to be safe. So I believe they are ready to accommodate students for the boarding institutions. So the government is doing a lot to ensure the safety of our schools.
So what is your assessment of the implementation of Safer School Initiative in Zamfara State?
Yeah, you see, the Safer Schools Initiative is a project by the federal government, but due for implementation mostly by the state governors, because most of the institutions concerned are under the care of the state governments. So in collaboration with the state governments, the federal government introduced this project, and particularly here in Zamfara, I can tell you that the government is doing so much to ensure that our children continue to be in schools while teaching and learning continue to take place. A lot of measures are put in place, some of which are the fencing of such institutions.
Very good. I've been speaking with a security expert and analyst, Malam Omar Osman Karakay, especially on the implementation of Safer School Initiative in Zamfara State, as students and staff are getting set to resume by next week. That is all we have from this end. Thank you.
Well done, Jamilu. We pray that our schools are safe throughout the term. Thank you once again. Now we head to Ogbomosho. Following the alleged killing of 5 forest guards by suspected bandits at National Park Service Office in Oloka, Orire local government area of Oyo State, Oloka residents and those in nearby communities are calling on the federal government to beef up security in the affected community and its environs. Ahmed Fulani has an update.
Reports have it that no fewer than 5 forest guards of the National Park Service Office in Oloka, Orire local government area of Oyo State allegedly lost their lives when suspected bandits attacked the park on Tuesday evening. The attack came as a shock to the people of the affected community and those living in Obamo and Ikoyile, as residents in these communities are still in fear. NTA News crew, while on a fact-finding mission, however met with difficulties on the road as no one could move in or out due to fear. Local vigilantes known as Amatekun were on ground to provide security for those living in the nearby villages as a suspected car filled with some strange faces was chased by the men of Amatekun. The vehicle was later seized while the arrested people were handed over to the police for further investigation. Although no one was willing to speak on camera However, they appealed for constant presence of security operatives to forestall future occurrence. Meanwhile, a team of security agencies was spotted coming from Oloka, where they had gone to inspect the village and assure the people of adequate security. In Obumasho, Ahmed Fulani, NTA News.
This is News Extra on NTA. More news shortly. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. The federal government has debunked information circulating in some quarters regarding Nigerian scholarship students in the Kingdom of Morocco, describing such claims as false. The Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, says no Nigerian student on a valid federal government scholarship has been abandoned. The minister asserted that all beneficiaries duly enrolled under the Bilateral Education Scholarship BES program prior to 2024 have received payments up to the 2024 budget year. In line with the federal government's obligations, he explained that any temporary delays in outstanding payments are due to fiscal constraints and are currently being addressed through ongoing engagements between the Federal Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Finance. The minister stated that no new bilateral scholarship awards were made in October 2025 or at any time thereafter, maintaining that documents being circulated to suggest otherwise are fake. Dr. Lausa explained that the decision to discontinue government-funded bilateral scholarships abroad followed a comprehensive policy review, which established that Nigeria now possesses sufficient capacity within its universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education to deliver the affected programs locally. The minister clarified that only scholarships that are fully funded by the foreign governments are now being supported, with all financial obligations borne entirely by the host countries. In spite of the policy review, Education Minister assured that the federal government remains fully committed to students already enrolled under the previous arrangement and will continue to support them until the completion of their programs. In addition, students who may prefer to discontinue their studies abroad may formally write to the Director, Department of Scholarship Awards. Such students are being offered the option of returning to Nigeria, where they will be seamlessly reintegrated into appropriate tertiary institutions of their choice. The federal government will also cover their return travel costs to ensure a smooth and orderly transition. Dr. Lausa says the current administration remains resolute in eliminating inefficiencies and abuses within the scholarship system. And still on education matters, the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, has promised stronger synergy with its critical partners. In keeping with this, the Corps is engaging stakeholders in a pre-mobilization exercise, as it is that time of the year where eligible graduates from accredited Corps-producing institutions within and outside the country look forward to serving their fatherland. The NYSC says there will be no hiding place for Corps-producing institutions engaged in fraudulent practices. Alain Kaujo has the details.
For the NYSC, mobilization is the heartbeat of the scheme. When it is carried out with precision and integrity, the entire service year proceeds smoothly. But when problems arise during mobilization, the effects ripple through the deployment processes, orientation camps, welfare of corps members, security, and ultimately public trust in the scheme. This 2026 Batch A pre-mobilization workshop, which serves as a vital platform for fostering collaboration among the NYSC, co-producing institutions, and other critical stakeholders, is to make the process seamless.
While ICT offers numerous benefits, it also brings unique challenges that we must tackle head-on.
Challenges such as violation of established NYSC mobilization guidelines, uploading unqualified graduates, inconsistent academic records, data discrepancies, intentional record manipulation for personal or illegal gains, and weak internal verification system are factors which weaken effective service delivery. Talking on achievements, challenges, and how things can be done differently to achieve a smooth exercise, the scheme says,
as we look ahead, the NYSC mobilization process must be repositioned to be efficient, transparent, accountable, and people-focused.
NYSC do not correct date of graduation in the camp. They are asked to be corrected by the university before they proceed to the camp.
With more than 400,000 Youth Corps members mobilized on yearly basis from over 400 tertiary institutions, the scheme says enhancing service delivery across the mobilization value chain with transparency and integrity is non-negotiable. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.
Let's now turn our attention to electoral matters as INEC has dismissed claims that it's unjustly excluded Labour Party candidates from the forthcoming FCT area council elections, attributing the situation to unresolved leadership disputes within the party and ongoing court cases. In a statement by INEC Director of Voter Education and Publicity, Victoria Etemesi, the Commission responded to a protest staged on Monday, January 5, by some Labour Party supporters at its Abuja headquarters. The protesters accused the Commission of deliberately denying the party access codes required to upload the names of its candidates for the FCT area council elections scheduled for Saturday, February 21, 2026. INEC notes that the controversy stemmed from prolonged internal crisis in the Labour Party, which have persisted since 2024 and was conclusively addressed by the Supreme Court in April 2025, declaring the tenure of Julius Abure-led National Executive Committee as expired. However, the Abure-led faction still went ahead to conduct party primaries for both the August 16, 2025 by-elections and the 2026 FCT area council elections. Actions, INEC says, were inconsistent with the Supreme Court's judgment. And still on party politics, members of the All Progressives Congress APC in Delta State have been advised to prioritize unity as a collective action to achieve sustainable growth. This was a call by the National Publicity Secretary and other political leaders of the APC at the party meeting which held in Ika, Delta State. Thelma Eliogu has details.
In development as a shared responsibility, the leaders urged members to build on existing foundations and leverage synergy to attract greater opportunities and dividends of democracy to their various constituencies. The gathering, which served as a forum to strengthen party cohesion, also reaffirmed a collective commitment to ensuring they deliver President Tinubu and Governor Oborowori come 2027 election.
The political battle lines are drawn going forward into 2027. I must say, His Excellency, as someone I must talk to and plan with about how we take on and ruthlessly defeat anybody who stands in opposition to our great party. That is the call to duty that we have right now.
Mr. President wants to be a Nigerian first before being a politician. Today, I don't think there's any local government council or any state government in this country that owes salary anymore. And who is responsible for that? It is the economic policy of Mr. President.
To maintain the winning trend, members are enjoined to embrace the e-registration exercise.
For us not to have audio registration, there are two basic documentations that every intending member needs to have. One, your NIN. Two, your permanent voter's card.
In Asaba, Thelma Eliog, NTA News.
Still talking politics, the Kabiru Turaki-led National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party says it has the assurance of former President Goodluck Jonathan that he is still a card-carrying member of the People's Democratic Party. This was among other fallouts of the visit of the former president to the former president by the National Working Committee in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf reports.
We came this evening to visit.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan is still active and will even be more active these days in the activities and affairs of the PDP, says Kabiru Tanimu Turaki, factional national chairman of the party, following a visit to him in Abuja.
Turaki further explained that the former president assured NWC that PDP is the foundation of his political career and has been a pillar all this while, and he remains obligated to party.
And his remarks and statements are not only reassuring, but indeed they are very, very encouraging as we begin to prepare for elections, off-season elections in Ekiti and Oshun this year, and the general elections that are coming up in 2027.
The Turaki-led NWC assured party members that PDP still remain the leading opposition party and that the new leadership of PDP is taking the party back to the people who are the owners, and in doing so, there is going to be level playing ground. Inclusivity and impunity will no longer be tolerated. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Let's look away from politics quickly now. The Office of the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has vehemently disclaimed a write-up and its entire context written by an aide, Seidu Enagi, entitled Malagi 2027, in which permutations for the 2027 Niger State governorship elections were discussed. A statement by the Special Assistant Media to the Minister, Rabiu Ibrahim, said the minister is fully focused on his responsibility superintending the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation and has no room for political distractions. The statement urges the public to disregard the write-up as the minister neither directed nor approved the publication and directed immediate investigation and suspension of the aide. The statement adds that the minister and his home state governor, Mohammed Umar Bago, enjoy a positive mutual relationship for the greater good of Niger State. Therefore, speculations about the 2027 elections will appear inimical to those noble objectives. We head to the courtroom. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has granted bail to the former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, SEN, and two others in the sum of 500 million naira each, with two sureties each in like sum. Malami SEN is standing trial alongside two others on a 16-count charge filed by EFCC for alleged money laundering and illicit possession of assets valued at more than 8 billion naira. At the resumed trial, the prosecution opposed the bail application on the grounds that Malami SEN may use his connection to interfere with investigation or leave the country in order to evade trial. However, the defense argued that the prosecution assertions are mere speculations. After hearing both parties, Justice Emeka Nwite granted bail to the three defendants on the grounds that the two sureties must have landed properties either in Maitama, Asukuru, or Gwarimpa. In addition, the defendants must deposit their travel documents with the court and must not travel out of the country without the court's permission. In the light of this, Malami and two others will be remanded in Kuje Correctional Facility pending the perfection of their bail conditions. The judge adjourned the case to February 17th for commencement of trial. We'll look at other news now. The Armed Forces of Nigeria Remembrance Day and Emblem Appeal Fund is a collective national promise, ensuring that while heroes of the armed forces may fall, their families are never left to stand alone. But the question is, are promises made for donations kept? And does this annual fund get to the desired end? That's what defense correspondent Olajide Bello seeks to unravel in this report.
As a grateful nation, we must honor the fallen, support the wounded, and care for all who will answer the call to serve.
A call to citizens to wear this emblem as a badge of national pride and direct solidarity by President Bola Tinubu, followed by the launch nationwide by state governors. This is the yearly ritual before the celebration of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day on the 15th of January every year in Nigeria. A designated account number is publicized for individuals and corporate bodies to make donations to the well-being of the veterans and their families. Where then do these proceeds go? The answer paints a picture of care, as the fund primarily exists to support the families of fallen heroes and heroines, the spouses, children and dependent parents left behind.
Now, the armed forces of Nigeria are saddled with the responsibility of defending the nation's territorial integrity, toiling day and night to secure Nigerians and ensure we sleep with our two eyes closed. But what is life like after their service year?
Most of this money the people pledge, at times they didn't come to the Legion office. That is one. Two, there are a lot of expectation on the appeal, but thank God the systems recently on the health-wise, there are a lot of innovations that comes with the medical care plans in order to include the veterans, capture them in taking part of this health-wise.
Any drug above 1,000, 1,005, they will tell you it's not available. So you have to go and buy outside. If the doctor writes for you some tests, they will tell you this is not covered in the scheme. If you have to undergo some kinds of operation, they will tell you it's not covered by the scheme. The government is trying, but I think they need to expand to cover some of these things.
The emblem purchased by a citizen becomes a brick in the foundation of their security, as it is a tangible reminder that their loved ones' service is honored not just in speeches, but in practical commitment to their well-being.
We are pleading with the federal governments and the state governments. They should please allocate lands for the veterans, which we are about launching Renew Hope Veteran Estates to help them to get a cheaper accommodation after the service.
Olajide Bello, NTA News.
Many thanks, Olajide. We hope that all pledges are redeemed this year. Now, Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu extends heartfelt gratitude to Renewed Hope Initiative team across the country, led by wife of the Vice President, Hajia Nana Shatima, First Ladies of States and RHI state coordinators, wives of federal legislators, ministers, service chiefs and other women leaders across the nation for their support to the initiative since the inception of this administration. In a personal message to begin the new year, the First Lady applauds their compassion, dedication and readiness to act, noting that this has strengthened the collective efforts aimed at delivering the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and empowering all Nigerians, especially the most vulnerable, regardless of status or background. Wishing them a peaceful, productive, impactful and a prosperous 2026. The First Lady again appreciates all their efforts and partnership while looking forward to continued support in 2026 and beyond. Now, the new year is usually filled with planning and high expectations, but for traders and business owners in Martin Street, one of the central business districts of Lagos, the story is different. Many from the fire that ravaged some buildings in the area. Joel Kupola reports that the incident has once again underscored the need for authorities to place a premium on fire prevention and disaster mitigation.
So far, the tragic Christmas Eve fire that ravaged the Great Nigeria Insurance Building and 6 others on Christmas Eve has claimed 8 lives, 5 identified and 3 yet unknown, while 13 injured people have been rescued. Meanwhile, the location Martin Street is yet to return to its usual bustling life. The Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, LASEMA and other emergency responders are still on ground and are part of the help and information desk created to respond to inquiries from family members of the victims and the general public.
It's 2 weeks after the fire incident that ravaged several buildings here on Martin Street, Lagos Island. The impact of the inferno is still visible, with the smoke emanating from the Great Nigeria Insurance House building. Many of the adjoining buildings have already crashed down, making this entire area unsafe. With a substantial part of Martin Street affected by the inferno, many traders who survive on petty trading in the area are now struggling to make ends meet.
The incident caused so many setback and disturbance. The traders here are not finding it easy.
It's very, very obvious that it's affecting everybody. It shouldn't be like this.
There are many people now, we know where they here now, they don't get money for transport. Today now, we carry come again at 1.5.
Stakeholders believe the incident has once again highlighted the urgent need to better equip firefighters with adequate facilities and strengthen emergency response. As the state continues to deal with the aftermath of the Lagos Island Christmas Eve fire, 3 additional incidents have occurred, thankfully with no casualties. The more recent one at Ekoro Road in Abuja, Lagos, which started from a local recycling site, affected 2 other buildings before it was brought under control. The Lagos State emergency responders urged members of the public to adhere strictly to fire safety regulations to protect lives, property, and environment. In Lagos, Joel Bukbola, NTA News.
Thank you, Joel, for staying on that. For emphasis, the federal government has debunked information circulating in some quarters regarding Nigerian scholarship students in the Kingdom of Morocco, describing such claims as false. The Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, says no Nigerian student on a valid federal government scholarship has been abandoned. The minister asserted that all beneficiaries duly enrolled under the Bilateral Education Scholarship (BES) program prior to 2024 have received payments up to the 2024 budget year, in line with the federal government's obligations. He explained that any temporary delays in outstanding payments are due to fiscal constraints and are currently being addressed through ongoing engagements between the Federal Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Finance. The minister stated that no new bilateral scholarship awards were made in October 2025 or at any time thereafter, maintaining that documents being circulated to suggest otherwise are fake. Dr. Lausa explained that the decision to discontinue government-funded bilateral scholarships abroad followed a comprehensive policy review, which established that Nigeria now possesses sufficient capacity within its universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education to deliver the affected programs locally. The minister clarified that only scholarships that are fully funded by foreign governments are now being supported, with all financial obligations borne entirely by the host countries. In spite of the policy review, Education Minister assured that the federal government remains fully committed to students already enrolled under the previous arrangements and will continue to support them until the completion of their programs. In addition, students who may prefer to discontinue their studies abroad may formally write to the Director, Department of Scholarship Awards. Such students are being offered the option of returning to Nigeria, where they will be seamlessly reintegrated into appropriate tertiary institutions of their choice. The federal government will also cover their return travel costs to ensure a smooth and orderly transition. Dr. Lausa says the current administration remains resolute in eliminating inefficiencies and abuses within the scholarship system. There's more news. We'll take a short break. Please stay with us. It's time to talk business. Benny Adams is here. Benny.
Thank you, Henry. And talking business, the Budget Office of the Federation has dismissed allegations of constitutional violations, fiscal illegality, and lack of transparency surrounding the repeal and reenactment of the 2024 and 2025 Appropriation Act, insisting that the process followed due constitutional and legislative procedures. In a statement, the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation, Tanimu Yakubu, says Sections 80 to 84 of the 1999 Constitution as amended clearly outline the process for public expenditure, which includes the preparation of estimates by the Executive, approval by the National Assembly through an Appropriation Act, and implementation strictly within the authority granted by law. He stressed that the Constitution does not prohibit the National Assembly from repealing and reenacting an Appropriation Act where fiscal realities, implementation challenges, or the need to reconcile fiscal instruments make such action necessary in the public interest. And to news around the world, a dispute between Asia's two top economies escalated this Wednesday as Japan called China's ban on dual-use exports for its military absolutely unacceptable. Dual-use items are goods, software, or technologies that have both civilian and military applications. It includes certain critical minerals needed for making drones and chips. It comes with a looming threat of wider caps on vital rare earth. The latest was Tuesday's ban on exports to military users or for any purposes that contribute to Japan's military strength. Japan's Nikkei share index fell about 1% on Wednesday, breaking a trend of record highs in U.S. and European benchmarks. The ban could hit the manufacturing powerhouse, including its automotive sector. Japan has sought to diversify its supply of rare earth, but still relies on China for about 60% of imports.
Severe, if there are Japanese civilian or commercial entities targeted, you could see the Japanese retaliate, particularly, for example, in semiconductors or other high-end manufacturing materials that China actually needs for its own supply chains.
Back here in Nigeria, at the close of trading today, investors in Nigeria's capital market went home with a whooping 409.66 billion naira as the whole share index is up 0.40%, with sustained interest in Okomo oil among other 20 stocks. Market sentiment was also negative, with 38 decliners led by Cadbury against 33 gainers led by Union Daikin, with market capitalization closing at 102.68 trillion naira. Looking at other African markets, South Africa is down 0.78%, while Tunisia index also down by 0.15%. An opportunity for new investors to take advantage of the bears, that is, in South Africa as well as Tunisia. That is it and business. Nyeri, you can take it from here.
Many thanks, Benny, for the update. Let me now inform you that the government's deliberate efforts to tackle security challenges, boost oil production, and address other sources of volatility, experts predict will drive 4.5% economic growth in 2026. These projections were made during assessments and forecasts for the year. Amaka Owo has details.
The bold initiatives embarked upon by the present administration, such as the removal of fuel subsidy, the unification of the exchange rate, strengthened banking system, monetary policy by the Apex Bank, and the new tax law, among other policies of government, industry players say were key drivers of growth, macroeconomic stability in the year 2025, and increase in investor confidence.
Our economy grew by 4.23% in the second quarter of 2025, the strongest pace in 4 years.
Businesses that declared losses in 2024, many of them returned to profitability. The business confidence index also improved.
The key indicators of growth are reflected in the latest figures, with the current GDP of 3.98% in the third quarter of 2025. The current inflation rate stands at 14.45%, a significant decline from the previous levels. Oil sector production rose to 1.64 million barrels per day, while the non-oil sector revenue increased to about 20.59 trillion in August 2025, signaling an over 40% growth.
The majority of the jobs are actually created by small scale and medium scale businesses, not the big businesses. So the first question to ask is, what has the situation been for creation of small and medium scale businesses?
Sustaining the progress recorded is what experts in the value chain are projecting. They insist that achieving this requires focus on key areas, with the goal of fostering a resilient economy in the areas of infrastructure, digital economy, and entrepreneurship fully met. In Lagos, Adeola Komiakiri, NTA News.
Away from the Center of Excellence, Abia State remains a major center for vocational skills and youth-driven enterprises in the southeast. Across manufacturing, fashion, leather works and agriculture, young people are building businesses that employ thousands. Gabriel Amunike reports on how the apprenticeship model is sustaining entrepreneurship and job creation.
Aba in Abia State is buzzing with youthful energy, where young Nigerians are turning skills into success via apprenticeship. Aba's industrial clusters are bustling with activity as youth engage in various forms of manufacturing and trade. From tailoring and shoemaking to agro-processing, these enterprises are largely owned and operated by young Nigerians.
We're not using anybody's brand except our own brand because we trust our products.
Clothing brand, we based on the African wears made in Aba, especially we make suits, every varieties of men wear. As far as you put in your order, we are here to deliver.
The Southeast apprenticeship system allows young people to acquire technical and business skills under experienced mentors, after which many are supported to establish their own ventures.
In the village and I started by pushing wheelbarrow in our market in the village.
I came to this market in 1993 to join my master, serving him. And I served him 9 years, from 1993 to 2002. And he settled me. And since that time, I have been striving. After 3 years, I go and call my own boy that can serve me.
Several beneficiaries of the system have grown from small workshop into large-scale producers.
Mainly we export them, and it's of high quality. We don't compromise.
Despite the successes, operators identify challenges including limited access to finance, high operating costs, power supply issues, and regulatory bottlenecks. Stakeholders say improved access to government funding schemes and private sector investment would help sustain and expand the apprenticeship model. Gabriel Amunike, NTA News.
As we transverse the length and breadth of the nation, Bayelsa is our next stop. And with the reduction of fuel palm price, it is expected that transport fares should start reducing. But that seems not to be so in Bayelsa State. Doris Akumoye reports that stakeholders in the transportation sector are attributing the high cost of transport fare to the cost of motor parts and car maintenance.
The fuel price have reduced, but there are some other levies that we do pay. So coupled with all those things now, give and take, we still remain like that.
Scarcity of fuel is gradually becoming a thing of the past. However, with availability and recent reduction of fuel pump price, there isn't an impact. This is generating concerns among commuters. Despite reduction in fuel price to 790 naira per litre, as against 950 naira, the cost of transportation within and outside Bayelsa State is still on the increase.
Those who are driving daily pay, their returns is 10,000 naira a day. Then high purchase, some people are getting 8 million naira. So if you say maybe you want to flow fuel, you will not, they will get problem with the people they are driving their car for.
Stakeholders in the transport sector attribute the development to high cost of spare parts and car maintenance.
The motor parts, those things we are buying, the price of it is ×2 of everything is ×2.
Most they buy this in 1,000 naira. For filling station, this thing now they buy 1,000 naira. This is 1 liter. But when it goes to a place where they sell for now, here the 1,000 naira they stop.
Residents insist that there is a need for regulators and the government to check the high cost of transportation to ease financial burden.
That report, put together by Doris Akumoye, was voiced by our own Elizabeth Amari. Now, from Europe to Asia, Australia and South America, Nigerian footballers reign and stand tall. But what is the situation looking like back home in Nigeria? Now, we all know football is big business, but how is this translating to economic gains and human capital development for Nigeria? Daniel Derry in this report delves into the talent gap in the football world in Nigeria and how a Nigerian is turning lemons into lemonades as captured in the bold effort to change the narrative surrounding our local leagues. This report is brought to you courtesy of Solution Journalism Initiative.
You are aware that Nigeria is currently Africa's biggest export as far as football stars are concerned. And if you doubt me, well, you can check the list. However, the point is not about what is being or who rather is being exported. It's more about those who aren't. And I'm referring to the local leagues. But while it is easy to name and shame and poke fingers, there are those who are making concerted and intentional efforts to see that the narrative around football and sports development in general is not just always in the negative, but rather much more progressive.
It's time for us to talk about the MPFL. Crazy results over the weekend.
Meet Bumi Haruna, a sports journalist whose forte is reporting every and anything local football. But passion, Bumi says, is what drove him to take it even a step further and went on to become a coach. This, he says, was because of a vacuum he saw in proper coaching at the local league level.
What I saw then, what I discovered was that all these players had natural talent, but it was obvious that they lacked coaching. There was also a statistics back then that shows that at that time, Nigeria had less than 600 certified football coaches. And at that point, Egypt, Tunisia had over 6,000, 7,000. So, and look at our population compared to that of Egypt, Tunisia, and the likes of them. So there was a gap. I saw a gap that could be filled.
Going by available statistics, there are at least 1.2 million youths who seek greener pastures abroad in the sporting sector, specifically football. But the availability of coaches per player has proven to be a major challenge, such that many talents go unnoticed or just fade away, blending into other pathways of life, with dreams unfulfilled. Not allowing obstacles to deter his vision, Bumi pushed through the doors and dared to walk into the room, becoming a voice for many young talents in this field of play, with particular focus on the grassroots.
I've also traveled out with players, exposed them to international football. Last year I was in Denmark. This year I was in Portugal. And all these players, some of them getting contracts outside the country and all the likes of it, not just for the football alone, but for the fact that I know that they will be able to cater for their family. If one succeeds, it's probably he will be able to take care of at least 20 or thereabout persons. So this is huge, looking at the impact it will make on our economy.
The move paid off, as Bumi has so far trained and coached over 100 football talents from across the country, with more than 40% of that number playing either locally or thriving internationally. Notable on that list are Super Eagles stars Taiwo Awoni, Kelechi Iheanacho and Akikunmi Amo.
Since I've been playing football, I've met a lot of coaches, but I would tell you that Coach Bumi Haruna is non-arguably the best coach that I've met in my career so far because of how he handles the player-to-coach relationship.
A coach who lectures you on and off the pitch, how to live your life outside football, what to do outside football. I think he should be called one of the best coaches to me.
He reads opponents, he reads games. If game is not going well in first half, second half, he knows how to make changes and tell you this is how we should approach this game. And when we come back second half, we go the way he wants and how he wants us to do it. The game will go perfectly fine and we'll win the game.
Bumi says it has not been as easy as ABC, as dribbling through funding and logistics for these young talents remains a major challenge, with no free kick in play. He insists that home-based players must be encouraged just as much as the local leagues to have a wholesome effect and mastery of the round leather game. He also appealed for more participation and active engagement by organised private sector for more impact.
My goal, I must not deceive you, is to see Nigeria win the World Cup.
It is noteworthy to state that, out of every 5 football fans in Nigeria currently, there are at least 3 who support foreign-based leagues. But with the likes of Bumi stepping up and polishing diamonds in the rough with this initiative, the future of Nigerian football and footballers can only translate to a rising profile in youth engagement, competence, expertise and progress.
Bumi is just one of several others in the country who have taken it upon themselves to see that it is not just always doom and gloom. Rather, as a people, we can make concerted efforts individually in our little corners to ensure that the very best of development comes back to our leagues, which in the past was probably, if not the best in the continent. In Abuja, I am Daniel Adirie, NT News.
Well said, Daniel. Indeed, Nigerians can do great anywhere. And of course, our Francisca Bila is standing by to bring us more sports news much later. Stay with us. There's a break now. Thank you for remaining with us. Now, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, has confirmed a nationwide decline in reported cases of Lassa fever. According to the latest Lassa fever situation report released by the agency, the number of confirmed cases fell from 28 in epidemiological week 50 to 21 cases by week 52 of 2025. Oluseyi Adiago reports that the week 51 update of the NCDC's Lassa fever situation report covering December 15 to 21, 2025 recorded 5 deaths linked to the viral hemorrhagic disease. The report is here presented.
During the period under review, new cases were reported in 7 states: Edo, Bauchi, Kogi, Ebonyi, Plateau, Ondo, and Taraba. Cumulatively, Nigeria recorded 1,119 confirmed Lassa fever cases and 206 deaths as of week 51 in 2025, translating to a fatality rate of 18.4%. The NCDC noted that a total of 21 states reported at least one confirmed case across 105 local government areas. 4 states, Ondo, Bauchi, Taraba, and Edo, account for about 88% of all confirmed cases nationwide. The agency also confirmed that no new infections among health workers were recorded during the week. While describing the reduction in cases compared to the same period in 2024 as encouraging, the NCDC cautioned that the persistent high fatality rate highlights the need for sustained surveillance, early case detection, and prompt treatment. The agency urges state governments, health facilities, and members of the public to remain vigilant, adhere to preventive measures, improve hygiene practices, and seek medical care promptly when symptoms arise.
The year 2025 was an engaging one for the Federal Road Safety Corps, especially with efforts and initiatives of boosting its drive towards meeting up with the UN Decade of Action of reducing road traffic crashes by 50%. Issues of concern to the Corps remains overloading by truck drivers, overspeeding, and driving under the influence of alcohol. Here's Oyeyemi Ajayi bringing us up to speed on how the Corps fared in 2025.
Towards the late 2024, there were crescendo of fuel scooping and siphoning activities from fallen tankers, which caused death of many. This was one major challenge the Federal Safety Corps faced headlong to quell, and as time passed, campaigns and awareness became regular in this, educating Nigerians on the need to desist from such activities. Aside these, mixed loading, overspeeding, as well as driving against traffic were referred to as major contributors to road traffic crashes in the country. There was as well the crackdown on motorists with fake number plates with the arrest of many. Of major concern to Nigerians is the issue of delayed driver's license issuance, which the Corps swing into action to change.
We have activated plans to overcome perennial challenges associated with delays in obtaining the driver's license and number plates. Our printing facility has been upgraded to print an average of 15,000 driver's licenses daily.
Production from the input of the machine to the output takes less than 20 seconds for a car to be out. So it means we can produce over 1,800 in 1 hour.
In the period under review, about 30 million passengers traveled using 2.3 million vehicles across the country, with Anambra and Kano states having the highest volume of movements. Some recalcitrant officers were arrested and prosecuted by the Corps after being apprehended for a series of offences, including extorting innocent public. Between 15th December 2024 and 15th January 2025, 432 lives were lost and 2,070 people injured in 533 road crashes. Between January and September 2025, 3,433 deaths and 22,162 injuries were recorded in 6,858 crashes across the country. On the 27th June 2025 in Lusaka, Zambia, the Federal Road Safety Corps was announced the Secretariat of the African Association of the Road Safety Lead Agencies, a feat which earns Nigeria the status of producing the Executive Secretary of the Regional Association. Recalcitrant motorists were arrested and prosecuted through mobile courts. As the 2030 United Nations Decade of Action continues to count down, the Corps says it will not relent in its hours of strengthening and boosting efforts of achieving 50% reduction in road traffic crashes in the country, and won't stop initiating ideas of achieving the goal, while echoing that road safety is everyone's business. Hence, all hands must remain on deck to ensure sanity and safety on the highways. Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Let's look away from road matters now. The Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Suleiman Ibrahim, congratulates Dr. Olugbemisola Titilayo Dushote on her appointment as the first female Director General of the Nigerian Law School since its establishment in 1962. The minister describes the appointment as a landmark achievement for the legal profession and a significant milestone for women's leadership in Nigeria. Suleiman Ibrahim also appreciates President Tinubu for a bold, visionary and inspiring decision that reinforces women's inclusion in national development. Let's pause again. Please stay with us. Now time to look at the global scene. Uche Ogochukwu has all the details.
Cela allait se faire.
Burkina Faso's Security Minister Mohamed Sana gave details of the coup in a national television broadcast, stating that intelligence services intercepted the operation. He alleged that the plotters had planned to assassinate the head of state and then strike other key institutions, including civilian personalities, adding that the conspiracy was funded from neighboring country. Sana said authorities uncovered a leaked video in which the plotters discussed their intentions. In another news, Chinese vessels entered South African territorial waters for drills with other BRIC nations, including South Africa, Russia, Iran, and others. The vessels were seen sailing in False Bay near the South African Naval Base in Simeonstown. The exercise to run from January 9 to January 16. Elsewhere, U.S. President Donald Trump has unveiled a plan under which Venezuela will turn over 30 to 50 million barrels of oil to be sold by the U.S. Trump said proceeds from the sale of the oil will benefit the people of Venezuela and the U.S. Meanwhile, Venezuela's interim leader, Delcy Rodriguez, said no foreign agent is running Venezuela, despite Trump's repeated claims that he is in charge of the country. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
Let's now talk sports. Francisca Vile standing by. Francisca, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Henry. Welcome to Sports Update. Now, the National Sports Commission has reaffirmed its commitment to keeping Nigeria's sports sector on a steady growth path, insisting that athletes' welfare and long-term development remain the cornerstone of its policies. The Commission made this known during a meeting with President of Sports Federations in Abuja, led by its chairman, Malam Shehu Diko. The NSC explained that this vision is driven by the progress recorded in less than 2 years of its mandate, during which it has established a clear development roadmap for over 40 sports federations aimed at accelerating growth. The high-level meeting is focused on preparations for major upcoming events, including the Commonwealth Games, African and World Championships, the Youth Olympic Games, as well as key domestic competitions such as the National Sports Festival, National Youth Games, and the newly introduced Intermediate Games. Now, ahead of their quarter-final showdown against Algeria, the Super Eagles will depart the Moroccan city of Fez on Thursday for Marrakesh, where the much-anticipated 2025 Africa Cup of Nations clash will take place on Saturday. The encounter is scheduled to kick off at 5 p.m. Nigerian time and is being viewed as a crucial test for the Eagles, who are determined to avoid a repeat of recent disappointment on the continental and global stage. Saturday's tie also revives memories of past meetings between both sides, including the clash at the 1990 AFCON in Algeria and the dramatic 2019 AFCON semi-final, where Algeria edged Nigeria 2-1 thanks to a late Riyad Mahrez penalty. Now, Bafana head coach Hugo Bruce has urged South Africa to adopt a development model similar to Nigeria's in order to compete more effectively at the highest level of African football following their exit from the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. The Belgian tactician admitted that his side went into the tournament at a disadvantage, citing the composition and quality of the squad compared to several of their rivals. Bruce noted that countries like Nigeria benefit greatly from having the majority of the players plying their trade in Europe, and stressed that for Bafana to consistently challenge Africa's top teams, there must be a conscious effort to create more pathways for locally based players to secure moves to European leagues. And now to tennis. After disappointment of missing out on the end of year WTT Cup finals for the first time, Africa's table tennis star Quadri Aruna of Nigeria and Hannah Goda of Egypt will begin their 2026 campaign on Thursday, January 8th at the WTT Champions Doha in Qatar. Aruna, the only African to have featured consistently at the Cup final since its introduction in 2021, finished 2025 as the continent's highest-ranked male player, but narrowly missed out on a place in the top 16. Similarly, Goda, Africa's top-ranked female player, also failed to qualify for the season-ending tournament after falling short of the top 16 courts required for entry into the prestigious events. That's your spot. It's back to you, Neri.
Thank you, Francisca. The death has occurred of engineer Olufalarin Okoriboye, the pioneer of Nigerian broadcasting engineering, aged 93. He headed several top-ranking positions in NTA Lagos and was instrumental in expanding and modernizing Nigeria's television broadcasting capabilities. Engineer Okoriboye exemplified the principle of lifelong learning, consistently pursuing opportunities to sharpen his technical and managerial capabilities, translating to achieving several feats. He was an aristocrat, impeccable and illustrious individual whose influence extended far beyond the broadcasting towers and engineering blueprints. The sharpest service of songs in his honor on Thursday, 15th January 2026 by 5 p.m. at the Methodist Church of Trinity, Tinubu, Lagos Island. The funeral service shall be on Friday, 18th January 2026 by 11 a.m. at the Methodist Church of Trinity, Tinubu, Lagos Island. Interment follows afterwards, to be attended strictly by family members. Nearly 10 days after the tragic road accident that claimed lives of 7 journalists in Gombe State, prominent individuals and groups have continued to sympathize with NTA Gombe over the loss of 6 of its staff in the sad incident. Nafisa Omar Gaba reports.
Leading her team, the national president of the Nigeria Association of Women Journalists, Aisha Ibrahim, joined others to sympathize with NTA Gombe and the Nigerian Union of Journalists over the tragic death of 7 members at a time.
No man shall surpass his time, even by a fraction of a second. We pray that God Almighty rest their souls in peace, give strength and fortitude to the families and the entire journalists in Nigeria, particularly the NTA community.
Acting Director of the National Orientation Agency, Maimuna Abubakar, Commandant of the Security and Civil Defense Corps, Idris Jibrin, and the Sardauna Gombe Ishaku Gomna were among those who came to contour with NTA Gombe.
We want to use this forum to thank Gombe State Government for donating 2 million naira each to the bereaved families and also those who show concern over what happened to us.
Sympathizers are still trooping in, and the prayers have always been God to grant the departed souls eternal peace while NTA Gombe and families of the deceased recover from the shock. Nafisa Umar Garba, NTA News.
And that concludes News Extra tonight, the very first for the year 2026. Many thanks for investing your time with us. Let's do this again next week, Wednesday. I'm Yan Ray John. Have a good night.